There is a new Nat Geo travel docuseries that's showing on Disney Plus Hotstar. It features Queer Eye's Antoni Porowski, and it's called No Taste Like Home with Antoni Porowski. There are 6 episodes in this first season, and the concept is kind of cool in that Antoni hooks up with 6 different Hollywood celebrities. And he doesn't just do a travelogue. What he does is he kind of traces their family history through food and travel. He speaks to Florence Pugh, for example, and he takes her back through her own family history by traveling through the UK and helps her discover where she came from by way of the locations of her ancestors and also the food that they may have eaten at the time. I wasn't sure what this show was going to be, but after watching it, I was genuinely excited because it's been a long time since I've seen a kind of travelogue show that feels fresh or different. A lot of it has to do with Antoni himself, who is a very natural host. Now, ironically, not all of the Queer Eye guys are great hosts. I think Tan was the host of some fashion thing on Netflix, and he wasn't very good. But Antoni feels incredibly natural, and he knows how to talk to celebrities, if that makes sense. I think not all of these hosts deal with celebrities well.
Can I also point out, I always thought that he was also, I don't know about awkward, but he never quite seemed to overly jive with the rest of the Queer Eye guys. Like, I tend to find that I enjoyed watching him more when he was on his own, doing a cooking thing with someone.
Right.
As opposed to when they're all together. It feels like, I don't know, whatever. For me, it didn't quite work, but I loved him in this. He's very warm. He's warm without coming off as being a sycophant.
Yes. He feels friendly in a very natural way. It feels like they're genuinely friends. And I say this after watching the Netflix Meghan Sussex show.
Sure.
It is the exact opposite of what this is. Because in that show too, there are some episodes where she gets celebrities to come on into her fake home and either teach her stuff or cook with her or do things. And they're not really her friends because they're invited guests. But there is an awkwardness and a tension in their interaction because they don't really know each other. And I don't know how well Antoni knows these people. He may have met them in passing. He may have met them for the first time in a pre-taping interview. Who knows? But whatever the case, on screen, their interactions are incredibly, incredibly natural. And it really, really works.
I feel like it's Antoni being the host, matching up the energy of the guest. With Justin Theroux, who's a bit more like funny, he's a bit louder, and they're in Italy, so Italians are a bit more, exuberant. So Antoni sort of matches that. But when he's with Issa Rae, when he was with Henry Golding, he was a little more warm. He's a little more inviting. He's a little, I don't want to say lower volume because he never was, but he allowed the guest to sort of go on that journey. Whereas when he was with James Marsden, they were both very sort of just up with it. For me, that's the sign of a really good host, that you don't have to worry about your guest trying to come up to you. You're not trying to force your guest to come up to you. You go to wherever their energy level is.
The other thing about the Meghan Markle show, of course, is Netflix marketing for that show tries to pitch it as if reinventing the genre of lifestyle television. Not my words, their words. When you watch it, you realize it's reinventing nothing. And it just feels like a really, really boring rehash of 100 different things that you've already seen.
Well, they've got a second season to come up with.
Well, they say second season. That's actually a little lie, right? Because
really?
Apparently all the episodes are already ready to drop.
Oh, I see.
So what they did was they taped a whole bunch of episodes and then kind of
Stranger Things
split it into 2 parts. But now they've announced a second season as if it was so successful that they announced the second season 2 days after launch.
I did not know that. Oh, sneaky deaky bastard.
It's very sneaky. Okay. It's very sneaky. But the difference, I think, and what makes this show exciting is it is an amalgamation of things you may have seen, but the execution is great. So you've seen a travel show. You've seen a food travel show. You've also seen clips probably of Finding Your Roots with Henry Louis Gates Jr., in which he tracks the roots of famous people, for example. Only that's a lot more serious, and that's like a genealogical exploration. In this one, it is a light-hearted, simpler approach to those things, but it blends in seamlessly. And I think a lot of that has to do with how much fun everyone seems to be having. And so on this show, you've got James Marsden, Justin Theroux, Awkwafina, Florence Pugh, Issa Rae. And the reason we're talking about it as well is because it's got Henry Golding. And they go to Borneo, they go to Kuching, they go to Sarawak. And it's really cool because Henry Golding is half Malaysian and he is from Sarawak. And I thought the Sarawak episode was really good. Like, I wasn't sure how they were going to pull it off, but they go to longhouses and they actually help Golding kind of rediscover these lost roots. I have to say, it has changed my perspective on Henry Golding. I was unreasonably annoyed with Henry Golding because for the longest time, once he became famous, Henry Golding hadn't given any press to Malaysian media. I don't think we got on any junkets onto the movies that he was on. I don't know if he even spoke to any Malaysian media for Crazy Rich Asians, for example. And so I was like, well, why is he trying to run away from the Malaysian press or being Malaysian, right? Because when he's on Ellen or he's on The Tonight Show, he's very happy to talk about being half Malaysian. And then after watching this, I realized that it was a conflict that ran deep within himself. And that he was genuinely trying to run away from that part of his life because he was bullied as a kid and he didn't know how to fit in as a child. And this thing that he has done with Antoni actually helped him reconnect to his roots and allowed him to have a deeper understanding of who he was. And I thought that was very cool. And I may have misjudged the man.
I mean, for me, what I found very interesting was that everything you said about what this show is correct and true and accurate. And when you said you wanted to do this as a review, you just told me like, oh, just watch the Henry Golding episode and maybe watch the Florence Pugh one because it's episode 1 and episode 6. And, you know, you'll get the vibes from that and it'll be fun. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I saw the Florence Pugh episode and I was like, oh, okay, I'm enjoying myself. And then I saw the Henry Golding one and I was like, oh, this is quite fun. And I'm like, oh, I actually really like Justin Theroux as an actor. So I watched the Justin Theroux one. That was nice. And then I watched the James Marsden one because Paradise, of course.
And Marsden's great.
Marsden's great, right? But what I'm trying to get at is I was avoiding the Issa Rae and Awkwafina one only because I don't really watch Issa Rae's stuff and I mostly found Awkwafina quite annoying. However, I thought the Awkwafina episode was the most moving episode of the 6. It's such a good emotional story that I wasn't expecting from
a 40-minute travel food genealogical show.
Yeah, and for it to not feel like a gimmick. It didn't feel like, oh, we must have a crying episode here. And it never felt like that. I also felt like the Issa Rae episode was quite interesting and quite well told because it is all about her feeling a part of a community, a part of a culture. As an African American woman in the US, they don't feel that way as much, right? They're not as widely accepted. But when she went back to Senegal, the closing moments of that episode was this traditional storyteller saying, you belong, you are home. I thought that was really strong. Also, watching this series when you're fasting is not a great idea. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
There is a lot of great fucking food.
That's on me.
So I was watching the Henry Golding episode with my wife, who is Sarawakian. And she got incredibly emotional watching the episode because Kuching, Sarawak, in general, the state, isn't featured at all in these kind of international programming. And because of that, it is very much, to use a popular influencer term, a hidden gem, right? A lot of people talk about KL and Penang, but actually, I've been to Sarawak many times now, and I have to tell you, I think the food's better than Penang.
Oh, snap.
But nobody knows about it. the street food in Sarawak is stuff that you've never had before. Like, I think Penang has become so touristy
That's true.
that now even the kway teow people say is the best kway teow in Penang. I'm just like, it's all right.
The problem is that every time you go to Kuching, you send me all these photos of things I can't eat anyway.
That's true. But I have found a fair share of halal things that you can eat.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Maybe
But
next time. Yeah.
I think the Sarawak state government probably had a lot to do with it, because they're really trying hard to push the state as this tourist destination. And yeah, I think people are missing out. Like, I swear to God, dude, the museums that I've been to in Sarawak are world class. They are better than the museums that are in KL. The way they're organized, the way they look, everything is amazing. It's just beautifully done. And so, in that sense, I'm really happy that it's highlighted a part of Malaysia that doesn't usually get the kind of attention that KL and Penang get, which is very, very cool.
I just want to put it out there. Sarawak Tourism Board, we're open for conversations, promotions, etc.
Anytime. Give us a call.
Give us a call.
Give us a call.
Yeah.
If you need Sarawak Boomi representation, we can use my wife's name. There we go.
I mean, I think yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
She got the K and the IC and everything.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Wondering if there's a film angle. Anyway. Back to this series.
Back to the series.
Look, this is one of those things where I feel like people won't give a chance until they see season 5 of it show up somewhere, which is unfortunate because I don't feel like this show will get to season 5. This is one of those 2 or 3 seasons, I think, and then they're going to move on, because I think the concept is good, the concept is tight, but you don't want to overstay the welcome.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's about finding the kind of people who have interesting stories, because I don't think you can do this with everyone. And it just so happens that Marsden and Thoreau and Aquafina and Florence Pugh and Henry Golding and Issa Rae all had really fascinating stories about their ancestors and their roots. And they were emotional and they were historical and they were interesting. And I think that's what works. There's also this little oyster shack in London that I really want to go to. It's like a hole in the wall. Yeah. And it looks amazing. And that's the other thing, right? I like that they found these things and that they found these places that aren't the common things and common places. Even some of the stuff in the Sarawak episode my wife had never heard of. There were a couple of places where I was like, oh my God, I've sat there. That's cool. It's really weird watching Anthony scarf down a bowl of kolomi. And yet there were other things that felt alien and felt new and interesting and exciting. So whoever the runners and the local producers were, excellent for each one of those stops.
I have a question. Season 2, if you had one name to add, who would you be? I've got a name already.
You've got a name? Okay.
I've got a name.
Season 2, if I could... Okay, who's your name?
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Oh, shit. That would be good.
Yeah. Go back to Austria, do the whole thing.
I've got one.
Go for it.
It's gonna be wild.
All right, here we go.
Barack Obama.
I was gonna say that would have been the other list.
Because you got Indonesia, you got Africa, you got Hawaii.
Yeah. To be fair, Barack Obama could be 2 episodes or 3, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think that would be interesting because his roots run through so many places.
Yes.
And that's just his immediate roots, not even his ancestral roots.
I would suspect if they were to do Barack Obama, it might be Africa via Indonesia, only because his father wasn't around for a lot of his life. So, I would suspect they would go that route and follow the father's track as opposed to the white mother or the time they spent in Indonesia.
Although Hawaii would be pretty interesting too.
That would be great too, yeah.
Hit us up, Antoni Porowski.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those are our calls. Yeah, I think the Schwarzeneggers would be fantastic. I think Patrick's in a bit of a hot streak at the moment. I think is the first generation migrant family moving to the US, and his father moving to the US for a very specific thing.
Correct.
I don't know. I thought that would be interesting. Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah, I'd watch that. All right, Nat Geo, you got our number.
Do they?
I think so, since we've done a few interviews with them.
They do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. You know what to do, Nat Geo. You know what to do. All right. No Taste Like Home with Antoni Porowski. All 6 episodes are now streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar. We strongly urge you to check it out. Not just the Henry Golding episode, even though that's a very good one, but all 6 episodes are absolutely fantastic. Let us know what you think once you've seen it. We're on Instagram at GogglerMY. We're also on email, podcast@goggler.my, or you can send us a message through WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.